Years ago, before the internet, if you wanted to learn something, you had to have a mentor or a teacher or somebody in the crew show you what to do. Well, now today we've got the advantage of the world is at our fingertips. You can ask Siri just about anything. And part of the reason for my channel is I want to be able to act somewhat as a mentor to younger climbers or those of you in the business that need to know more. So I'm going to offer up some tips here that I hope you share with your guys, or hopefully you'll find them useful yourself.
All right, here's a trick. Brand new thing of oil for my saw. If I peel this all the way off and I go to pour it in the saw, it's going to come out in a volume. But if I take this little tiny wrapper right here and I make a small indent on there, kind of like an old style can opener that makes a little triangle, then it'll pour out much slower and it doesn't overflow quite as readily. Like that. Another trick, gas and oil. Always wipe the sawdust off and get it clean so that you don't have the spill pull the material down into the saw. All it's going to take is a few little bits of sawdust to go down there and clog up the oiler, and you're going to wonder what's going wrong. Notice that I'm oiling and gassing up. There's no gas in this electric saw, but oiling and fueling up any saw, not on a hardscape, not on a lawn, because any spillage will cause a dead spot, but someplace on the dirt or on the street or someplace on your truck, someplace that's not going to result in a problem if and when you screw up. Try it. I think you'll find that works out really well.
All right, Pol Printer Maintenance. A lot of guys that I see work with a pole printer, and they're wondering why it doesn't cut really clean. And if you look at this one, this is an old one, you can see that the anvil part of the cutter has worn away, and it's actually got a kind of a groove, not a groove, but a sort of a slant on it. So every cut that you make, even if the blade is sharp, kind of pulls a bit. Here's another thing to pay attention to. On the spring mounts, these little rivet pieces, in time, they often get worn down. And if that happens, then your spring doesn't have quite as much pull on it. And always look for, loose nuts. Here, a nut came off on this particular pole printer, and things are kind of loose. You've got to maintain a pole printer to keep it working well. Also, on a job site, if you have a way of managing your brush in volumes, such as this brush cart, it greatly speeds things up. Here's an interesting story. This isn't a tip, but this is a tree that years ago had died. It was an orchard tree. The base is a black walnut, and the part that died was an English walnut. And the woman said, cut it down. And I said, why don't you just cut off the black walnut stump and see if it sprouts? This was 10 years ago, and amazingly, this tree has survived and turned into a presentable tree for her backyard. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you subscribe and be safe out there.